Okay, so we are off and running. Today, what we're going to talk about is the all-encompassing creator source. And what we're going to talk about as well is we're going to speak about like the Elohim, the Elohim Jehovah, and what my ideas of what these beings are, and also why do they exist, who are they to us, and why do we have so many gods within the Vedic and pagan beliefs. So, if you've studied Hermeticism the energy of the all creation God is everything and all things with nothing. So, that means that God does not hate us. He does not love us. He is always encompassing. So, the thing is, where does karmic, like debt and law and all this other stuff come into place? Well, what I have come to believe as I've looked into things for all these years is this. What I think is that we've gotten to a point today to where we have all these things where people have lined up with all these different translations, right? But what's funny is at the very beginning of like the Genesis and a bunch of the older scripts, like the Sumerian texts, the Gnostic scriptures of the Nag Hammadi, and many of the other scripts within that segment, they talk about the all-encompassing God, and then the other gods come here, if that makes sense. So, what I have come to believe is this, is that like the Jehovah, the Yod Baal Jehovah, the pagan gods, the Vedic gods, what they did is they created man in their image. Because there's two different forms of men within the Bible. And one is the spiritual being that has the connection with God, and then the other one is more of a material aspect. Hold on, let me turn this music down just a tad. And with that said, well, we have to have each god reigns a specific area within this planetary body. Within the planetary body, so each god, say with me being a Native American, somebody else being, say, Asian, some other person being black, some other person being like Swedish, each god is a specific native descendancy. And this is how I feel. Because if each god created men in his liking, that means that each of these gods in these regions were built differently, and then they made humans alike. So there's many different gods with each nationality. So with that said, I think that each region has their own gods. They have their own lineages. I think that they have the gods that they should be able to call upon. Now, that's not the main creator God. The main creator God is everything and all things that is all-encompassing, that's all around us, that is consuming us at all times. And so, but the thing is what we have to understand, these lower-lining gods that have been formed here throughout the regions, they come for a reason. And they hold stability. So what they do is they come and they hold stability in specific regions to be able to, so each god has a specific reign in a specific place. And like Marduk was the water god, so he's the god of water. And that was in the Sumerian text. But if you look at Marduk, he was more like the Jesus in the biblical text today. So, and what is even weirder about it is Marduk is half man, half fish, and then on the back of everybody's car, all the Christians have the fish on the back of the car. So it could be that is just showing that is the God of the Christianity beliefs. But most people don't go that far back to understand these different reigns, aspects, and regions. So, like with the Cherokee Indians, so there is a all-encompassing spirit God that is all in nothing. And then we have a lower lining God that is for this material world. So he was created to reign over the Native American region. And each person, so if you're an Asian, you have your own specific God that built the Asian population. The whites, the blacks, everybody has their own specific deity. I don't know if they're deities or gods. I would imagine they would be gods because they were the people that are now encompassing us to help us along. Now, not all are great. I'm not saying that all these gods are great, but the thing is we have to have them all working together with humanity for it to work for the all-encompassing energy, if that makes sense. So everything works together in unison, and then a lot of people have all these things, and then they aren't. A lot of people are just afraid to look outside the box, and that's why religion puts you in the box, because they tell you if you look outside the box, you're going to go to hell. Well, you make this world either heaven or hell. So your mentality, like the people that are over here attacking me, their mentality is already hell. And it's like they have to find people to pick on people to create an agenda. And what's funny is, as soon as I woke up the morning after I got attacked, it was Monday night of last week, I went to bed, and before that I had a reading here at the house, and shit got crazy really quick, and the energy just shifted after I did the reading. So I had to do a complete clearing of the house, clearing of the property. I walked my dogs around the pond, come back from walking the dogs barefoot, and then when I got back to the house, everything was normal because I did the complete clearing and getting rid of the energy that what shifted the space. Well, next thing you know, I was going to bed, and then all of a sudden I was about to go to sleep, and then I was awake, and I looked over at my partner. I was like, something's going down. I'm not quite sure what's about to happen, but shit's about to go down, and I'm in the middle of it. Well, I got out of bed, I went outside, tried to meditate for a few minutes to clear my head, and I cleared my head a little bit, and I was able to go back to sleep. Well, the next morning I woke up to all these all this stupid ass profanity, and what was funny is it was 33 comments at the very beginning. It was 33, and everybody knows our rulers is known by the number 33. That is their code, and so what's funny is, that's why Christ died at 33. He had 33 vertebrae. He was part of this, they have this agenda. And it's these people that's in this ruler class that's trying to make this man want to come back. But you need to become the Christ. You need to find the Christ within. There's no reason to look outside of yourself. So what's funny is, as the day went on, I kept being attacked. And I was already drained from the night before because I already knew shit was going down. I could not sleep all night, woke up the next morning, and then the shit hit the fan. Well, what was funny was, as I was going through the day, I just noticed the energy was it was just draining me. I was, because the thing is, I know how to combat, if I do a reading, I know how to combat personal energy. I know how to combat spirit energy. I've never been had to combat social media bullshit before. So it was something that I've never had happen. So I had to understand how to take the energy and work it in my favor rather than against me. So for that day, I could not quite figure out how to change it. And then as time went on, I called upon my gods. And then I have a pagan friend that did the same, and then we shifted the energy enough. Well, the next morning, I spoke to the shaman that was from the mountains and was telling me these different trance meditative states to be able to fix it even more. So what's funny is, after I did that night, it went from 33 in the morning, and then at the very end of the night, it dropped down to 33 percentile. So it's at the beginning of the day it was 33, the end was 33. I was so they're showing at the first of the day, the ruler started it. At the end of the day, it's still They leave their mark on everything that they do. And that was why the attacks had. So if you're part of that segment, you probably don't even know, but he's bought and probably paid for. And that's just how it works. Most people are bought and paid for nowadays. And we just assume that, oh, these YouTube people that are on here are like real. Most of the people, if they have big subscribership, their asses is bought. And that's just being blatant. It just is what it is. Everybody that I used to follow have already been booted off of YouTube because you have to follow these certain things. Now, the thing is, I do readings, right? More like readings. So it's a little more difficult for them to get me than it would be other people that are putting out factual information and stuff like that. So I can put out my information a little bit easier than most of the people that I would consider myself in the same genre, if you get what I mean. So it's a little different. Now, after I did that, the meditation, I've learned how to let me get Milo. He's my blind deaf dog, and he goes crazy sometimes. I'll put him on this chair and he'll shut up. Hold on. Hey, come on. So with that said, I just wanted to put that out there. If you're probably part of that clique, you probably have been played by the system. It's easily done. I mean, people that I've followed have been played by the system too. And it's what's hard on me was, if you're so connected, you already feel the energy about to go down. So I was like, what the fuck is going down? And then I'm up all night trying to figure this shit out. And I'm like, I need to go to sleep. And then you're up, and then up, and then up, and up some more. And then you hit the next day and you're like, what in the fuck, man? It's like you just want to be hit for no reason. So, anyways, like throughout these texts, what they've done is they have changed a lot of the names. So like in the Egyptian times, there is Mat, then there's Ra, then there's all these other underlining barriers. And then like that one that died and came back as Hermes, but that was still the same God. He was just reincarnated and came back in the Mayan temple in South America. So a lot of these are part of this God network that I'm talking about. And now they are, I would say most of the elite that we had today, we don't consider them gods, we call them elite. But they're like the deities of this this energy, because these gods have first created like their first children, and then it strung down to like keep on going and going and going. So they know who the true bloodlines are, and that's why our rulers consider themselves like the blue bloods, or they're the bloodline of a specific legion, right? And that is because they are like some of the first bloodlines of the first creators that created this existence. But a lot of people don't understand, like the Jehovah God is just for the Israelites. He is not a God for the world. He is a God for the Israelites. He was a small shepherd God. And if you look back in time, nobody knew about this God. Nobody. And it was just funny how, I'm trying to figure out where I read this. I have to think about it. I'll have to come back to that one. But he was a God that, like, the shepherds out in the middle of nowhere, that was their God for like crops and getting their livestock healthy and keeping it healthy and their harvest. It wasn't anything to do with Jewish or the Holy Land. It just became of that after the Romans came in. The Romans came in, and then they like played the system. So what they did is they came from town to town to town, and then they forced people to convert. So most people that would have been, saying, tribal lands of here, my ancestors, they would have been forced into Christianity instead of being like believing the Cherokee Native Indians. You get what I mean? Same goes with any other ancestral gods. So they would have came in and they would have either told you, you convert to Christianity or I kill you. And then what they would do is they would take all the gurus. So just say, okay, if I was a minister or like a shaman from back then, and I had a temple open and had people there, right? What would happen would be the Romans would have came in and they would have more or less forced me to convert, and I would have been the first bloodshed for them to see. So if either I convert or I'd be killed, and that was like their leader at that point to teach them all their lessons and stuff like that. Stop, Milo. And then as time goes on, those people are like, oh shit, they took him out. You not think they're going to take me out too? You get what I mean? So then the next people's over here like, you know what, I believe in that shit. So they take it on. But that's where this first originated, was how it was forced. It wasn't just like what people do today. It's not what we assume today. It was completely different. And so as we think about the all-encompassing God, okay, I had a pretty good actually comment this past week, and that comment was, with me being gay, how does this not live in balance with nature? And I answered, the thing is when we sleep with anybody, we're always exchanging energy. It doesn't matter what you are, who you are. If you're perverted and you're fucking like a million people, your energy has now been consumed by all these people and they have now consumed you. So if you're living in harmony with yourself and the ones around you, there isn't quite as much of a perversion. I understand where he comes from, but the thing is if you think of it in hermetics, God doesn't give a fuck. God doesn't care if you do something good or if you do something bad. The thing is it's the underlining characters. It's us that then forms these malfunctions in our brain somehow, to where we say, oh shit, I did bad. I'm a bad person. And that's when the karmic law and this natural law begins. So that's these lower gods that are almost having to initiate these aspects, because they are more of the material world gods, not the all-encompassing God, if you understand what I mean. So it's actually not the all-over God, it is just like the regional God. So it's funny how he had a point, but the thing is if you look at it in different aspects, certain religions say yes, certain religions say no. Just like Christianity first came from, it came from Zoroastrianism. Well, Zoroastrianism was a completely different outlook, and then paganists, and then all the new trends today is still pagan, but they claim to be Christian. And so we have to think of it in many different aspects. And I'm not saying procreation, but the thing is what I have picked up is a lot of times the newer generations that are coming in that are bi, gay, or like feeling this shift to change, or they don't feel like themselves, is because they are star seeds. And when star seeds arrive here, they aren't used to form this material body. So when we come here, a lot of times these people probably had dual sexes. Maybe they were a man and a woman altogether, because the archangels, when I call them in, they look man, they look woman, but they feel man, if that makes sense. And that's a lot of these star seeds. Before they came here in spirit form, they never understood physical attributes. So when they get here, they might still be they'll be sexually attracted to one, but be the wrong gender, if that makes sense. So it would be almost like a star, this is how I see it is. And that's why and I do think that there is an agenda being pushed with our media about the transgender movement. I think it's a little forceful how they're doing it. But I do think, now, on the other hand, there is the starseeds that are moving in that are gender fluid. And gender fluid meaning they like both. It's like they just don't feel like they need to take sides. And for me, I don't see it that way, but for them they do, and I'm not going to judge them on it, because I mean, I am what I am, and most people judge me on what I do. So I mean, if they feel like they're fluid and they can go back and forth and feel like they can have a mutual relationship to where they can have love and grow as a soul being to their highest God self, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, the thing is there is some people that are now forcing these agendas, and then it's like, could it be mind control? Who the fuck knows? I don't know if it's mind control. I tell you, they have so much stuff, because like where mind control really got up and running was from Black Dianetics. And Black Dianetics was originally done 50s through the 70s through Ron K. Hubbard. He did White Dianetics. He worked through the government for many years, and he actually cured, I think it was 90 or 98% of all the people that they thought they could never fix mentally after the wars. He actually cured them of all their illnesses mentally. And he never charged during these few years while working for the military. Well, the military started following what he did, and then they took his techniques and twisted it. And that is modern day Scientology. Scientology has picked up Black Dianetics and some aspects of Scientology, but they look of it more like a mind control rather than freeing the mind, if you get what I mean. So if you were to read any Dianetics, I would recommend do not read anything early. The new Scientology has all been corrupted. The government, there was a book that came out a couple years ago how the government actually jumped in and corrupted the Scientology and showed how it went down. It's pretty cool how they broke how they broke it down, and they showed who they were and how they got in there and how they made Scientology look like it was, and made Ron Hubbard look so terrible. But it was actually our government that did not want to allow people to know his techniques. And I've studied Scientology. I've read Scientology. I haven't studied Scientology. I have read a lot of Dianetics. I have read a lot of NLP. That's neuro-linguistic practicing. I have studied a lot of psycho-cybernetics. Psycho-cybernetics is another mind control, to where the new modern day the plastic surgeons see like, okay, well, you are fucked up, right? So you'll come in and I'm like, I need some big titties because I have a low self-esteem. Well, next thing you know, he puts his titties up in you, right? Well, next thing you know, the girl thinks she's like the most banged out bitch on the beach. And it changes her outlook. She gets new jobs. She gets a career. She gets a rich husband. And this is part of the psycho-cybernetics of how this doctor started seeing this evolution in people after he fixes a few of their flaws. The problem is, most of these people have never worked on themselves enough to understand these flaws. So what happens is, they will have these things happen, get the self-esteem, but never fix the inside. And then what happens is, then they start finding addictions to these plastic surgeries, and then they continue manipulating things, and it can help. Yes, it possibly could. I don't know. I've never had plastic surgery. I've had laser surgery done. I have chemical peels done, but I've never had any Botox, never wrestling, no nothing. It just is what it is. I have some good cosmetics that I use, and just like people say, aging ages people. I'm 40 years old. I don't have a wrinkled one. I think it's just genetics, to be honest. I haven't been a heavy smoker my whole life. I used to stop and start like every couple years. Lately, I've been smoking since I moved to the rural area, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I don't see harm in many things, as long as you can learn to live in harmony and learn how to not overdo things. I think everything in moderation is great, but the problem is with our world today, a lot of people, if you can afford it, they want it. Well, just like our house, right? Everybody was like, you can't afford the house. Well, what's funny is everybody always said we couldn't afford the house to be built in cash. Well, every weekend for a year, me, my father, my partner, we came up here and we built this house by our hands every weekend for a year, and this house is paid for. And you can do it, but because we manifest our destiny. And if you keep it in your mind long enough, the problem is a lot of people will get in your mind and start like putting side notes. You get what I mean? As soon as that side note gets in there, you're like manifesting, and then that side note will come and they'll like cut it down some. So you'll be losing that energy flow that you need to get this manifestation out. Just like I want a 4-wheel drive Sprinter van, like an off-road vehicle. So when we go to see my doctor at the beach, or if I go to the mountains, I can be able to go off-road and we can camp for a few days and live off solar and do it that way. And then they're like, over $100,000 for a 4-wheel drive, a van? How can you afford it? I couldn't afford the house, can't afford my car I got now, but I do. The thing is, you have to put it in your head. As soon as people start putting in your head outside of what you believe or what you want, then things stop happening. And this is a prime example of that. And it's just funny how people say, well, you can't do it. You can. It might not come exactly the way that you wanted it, but keep your mind right. Just here's a good example. So my partner was getting out of nursing school quite a few years ago. When you get out of nursing school, you cannot become a critical care nurse. It's almost unheard of. And if you do, it's always put on the third shift. And I don't allow third shift up in here because I am first shift living. So I did not allow it. Well, they first was like, he said, oh, well, I'll never be hired for critical care. I have to go somewhere else and then come back after I get the experience. I said, don't put that shit out there. Put it out there that you want a first shift job and you want to be where you want to be. Don't take anything else. Well, what's funny, he was about to get out of the unit, out of his clinical rotation. And then they offered him a third shift. I said, don't take the fucking job. Move on with the clinical rotation. You will get the fucking job. The universe will put it in your place. Give it a couple months. Things got to fall out of place for it to fill in. Next thing you know, he was in that other rotation. Within a couple months, they hired him on first shift. He got the job he wanted. And actually, he makes more money than most people because he's bilingual and all this other stuff. So it's just funny how don't let people make you think that you are less than. Because you get out of school, that doesn't mean that you can't have the job that you want and the career that you want. You can have it. You just have to let the universe collapse everything around them to create the reality that you want to live in. And just like right now, I don't mind doing these podcasts, but it's not easy finding the time, but I'm finding the time. I'm making this happen. It's manifesting the time. I'm bringing up you just find the extra 30 minutes in the day. Well, it's about an hour because I like to open up a little bit and clear my space and clear my head and everything else before I start. But still, long story short, to get information out, I understand I will get attacked. So what's the funny thing is after I was attacked, after I doing all the trance meditation and everything, I took that dark energy that was there, consumed it, and the day after, I tell you, I felt more powerful than the day before they ever even started. So I was like twice or 3 times, I felt like I could move mountains because I have now converted all their negative energy and then actually gave me energy, if you get what I mean. So it's just funny but I had to understand how to manipulate contacts through this shit. Because this shit is all new to me. I'm not good with technology. I suck at technology. I am not a computer guru. I don't want to be a computer guru. I don't even want to be your spiritual guru. I just want to help a bitch out. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it's just funny how, I swear, after they knew that I was getting that demonic energy out of the house, I remember I was saying the other day, I swear those archonic energies can see us from afar. And that day, I was like force-feeding that shit out of my house, out of my property. I was walking around my property doing like blessings on the property. And as soon as I fixed that shit came down. I swear they watch us, and they know who's powerful, and they try to drag you down. And the first like 24 hours, I'm like, okay, the thing is if they're over here taking so much energy out of me, is it really going to be worth it in the long run to continue? Because I'm trying to help people get out of the victim mentality, but these people that are now creating these spaces of darkness are now trying to fall upon me and then causing me to become victim to their energy, if you get what I mean. So I was thinking at it like the first 24 hours, I'm like, well, I'm now falling victim to like vampiric energy because they feel like they need to come at me. And I don't give a fuck what you want to do. I don't care. You have nothing to do here. Go on. Have at it, boo. I don't need you here. Me and my dogs are content. If I got a few people up in here, that's cool with me. More people will come when they feel. But we have to make sure from this point forward, keeping our minds on track. Because if you want something, whether somebody tells you outside of yourself, just like that van, every time I want that van, I have Dingleberry over here when he gets home from work. We can't afford the van. I don't give a fuck if we can't afford the van. We couldn't afford this house either, but we got the motherfucker, don't we? You get what I mean? So we have to look at it like that. The universe will give us whatever we want. First, we have to believe it. And that is that all-encompassing energy. The energy will give it to us, and then the other underlining gods of him have to shift the universal energy with their energy, if that makes sense. So it goes in, and then they shift it down here as well. So it's like a dual working system from the hierarchy to the next hierarchy. Then there are lords, then there are masters, and then they're your loved ones, and then they're your guides. And I mean, we have a list of all types of shit. And then these, they just everywhere. We just got things everywhere. And you know what's the funny thing is, I didn't even see spirit. I didn't even know. Well, my grandmother's house was haunted as shit when I was growing up. She built their house on a big. They had a big farm up near Winston, and kind of find out after they lived there for a while, the Indian burial grounds was like in the very far back of their farm, and the bodies were like starting to sink in. We kind of find out those were where the bodies were, and their place was haunted as shit. You would go in the bathroom, and the water would just like turn on right in front of your face, and you're just like, what the fuck just happened? TV, you'll turn it off, you'll walk in the bedroom in the back of the house, TV will turn back on, you'll go back out, turn it off, go back in the bedroom, it'll turn on again. And it happened all the time. So, I mean, things like that happened when I was a kid, but I've never seen them until after my accident. Then after the close call with death, now I see it. And it's different seeing it than like feeling it, or like literally, I mean, when they move the knob, you know that they're there. You get what I mean? But you don't see the body, and you don't see the apparition. You just see the mechanical stuff moving to be turned on. And nowadays I'm actually seeing like the apparition with the mechanicals, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so those could be your guides that's over here. They could be helping you trying to manifest your destiny as well. And because we have all these people supporting us. We have like legions of people. When I open up for readings, I'll open up with and then I'll call in my archangels. When I do, Seraphim normally is a big, he looks like a big white dragon with wings, if that makes sense. And he always ends up in the ceiling of my loft here. And then Michael and Gabrielle is my other two main people that come in when I do readings. I don't know why. So what's funny, they'll come in and they always show me when I'm in meditation. They'll come forward and I'll see what they look like, and they'll say their name, and then I'll tell them thank you for coming. And then I'll open up for my guides to show, and then within like the last year now, they will line up on the not my property per se, but right on the outside of my property, and they'll just like encompass this whole 5 acres, like hand in hand. And nowadays, since I've been doing this, and really, it's not just doing this, but I've been trying better at doing more readings for people and helping more people out on a more regular basis. Because I used to I used to push times and days around. So I'm trying to keep my days together and do more readings to help more people out rather than like shift it around and wait another week, if you get what I mean. So, and lately they've been like sitting with their hands up rather than like hand in hand because they're proud. They're seeing that I'm moving forward with what needs to be done. Because where we're at in the world today, okay, it's not that it's getting darker. The problem is the corruption is being shown, right? And because there's always a specific amount of light and a specific amount of dark. But the thing is there might be a lot of people with light, but they're not that bright, if that makes sense. So, this is my point. So if there's a lot of dim lit people out there, to make the light be, we have to have powerhouses. And that's what I mean. We have to have some powerhouses that contradict what the hell's going on. And that's why certain ones of the other side would want to do this to happen. And I have to say, I'm thoroughly happy at how many people that's reached out since I was attacked. Because clients of mine reached out. And one of my real good friends from high school, that she didn't even know what was going down. She was supposed to come the day before it went down, right? And I told her, "Do you want some peaches and pears?" Because I have peaches and pears and apples and stuff in the garden. So I told her, I said, "Well, you can come tonight." Well, then that shit happened, and the energy was all fucked up around the house. I was like, "Girl, you will be scared out your fucking wits if you come over to my house today, because I don't know what the hell's going on. It could be a demon, it could be like an entity, but I got to get this shit out. So why don't we change the date and we do it tomorrow morning?" So she arrived when the shit was going down, and she hadn't been here in like 10 years. She's never been here. And I've been to her house a few times, and she's been meaning to come here for many years, but it's just never happened. But that day was needed. She needed to be here because I needed to have like a supporter. And then not only was that one, but multiple people stood up during that time to let me know, okay, well, whether it happens or not, the thing is the people that know me know what I'm doing. The people that know me know how hard I work at what I'm doing. And the rest of you can go fuck yourself. Okay, goodbye.